Are you tired of roaming for your medications and can't find them? Do you want to speak to a pharmacist or simply need privacy when buying your medications? Do you want your drugs to be delivered to you at the comfort of your home or office? Then it's time to download the DrugNet app, spelled DRUGNET, from the Play Store or App Store to enjoy total convenience. Use DrugNet, your multiple award-winning online pharmacy, for prompt delivery of all your medications. For further inquiries on DrugNet, call 0593 159 139 or 0501 646 496. And remember, we also accept all private health insurance cards. DrugNet, your #1 online pharmacy.
3-3.
So tonight what we'll do is to take you to the screen and walk through the 26, we call them sector ministers. So two things to start with. There were 30 ministries prior to Mahama coming to government. He issued an executive instrument and reduced those to 23. So he has 23 sectoral ministers, but he's created 3 positions which we call functional ministries. So in all, he has 26 ministers. Of course, there are 16 regional ministers as well, bringing the number to 42. Now, he's also said he will work with only 60 ministers, meaning that there's space for just 18 deputy ministers, right? So these are the 26. Now, what we want to do with this 26 is to show you who they are and where they come from, because one of the most important issues in the conversation has been regional balance. So this is how the electoral map of Ghana looks in terms of the presidential election and also the emphasis of the victory. We've already explained this in the past. Now, it appears to us that the average number of ministers per region is 2, with the exception of a few. So what we've seen is that 2 regions have 3 ministers each. Then we have a few regions with a minister each, and then a whole lot with 2 each. So let's start with the ones with the most. The Volta region has the most in terms of the 26. There are 3 of them. Governor Kwame Agboja, he's a member of parliament for Adaklu, and he's now the roads nominee who was vetted and actually been approved by parliament. Abla Jifa Gomashi was vetted today, and it's quite likely she will be approved as well. So she has been a deputy minister in the sector before, MP for Ketu South. So she's going to the tourism ministry. So this is the second Volta nominee after Agboja. Then the third is one of the more exciting ones in terms of the list, because the final list that came had about 12, from defense to foreign affairs. Very interesting. 45-year-old Okujeto Ablakwa is going to be Ghana's foreign minister, one of the youngest for that position, MP for North Tong. So the Volta region has 3 nominees, right? Now the other region which has more than 2 is the Northern region. Now the Northern region has 3 as well. I'll start with Haruna Idrisu and then I'll come to the others. So Haruna Idrisu is possibly the most experienced of the 3, been in parliament since 2005, and he's the nominee for education, MP for Tamale South. His vetting was very short because he was former minority leader. Everybody knows Haruna Idrisu. I won't spend a lot of time there. Mohammed Ibrahim Mutala is also from Tamale. Interesting thing about him was that he was MP for Nantong, and then he lost and then went to Tamale Central, which is where he actually started from, because he actually did contest in the past for Tamale Central and he went back there. He is the nominee for Environment, Science and Technology. We'll go more into who he is later on. And then another interesting fella, he is actually a 4-term member of parliament, Joseph Bukari Ningpe. He has been in parliament since 2005 and then 2009. There was a brief break in 2016 and he's come back. So if it wasn't for the 2016 break, he would have been in parliament for almost 20 years. Now, he is going to be in charge of the transport ministry. I'll tell you more about him as well as the program proceeds. So the 2 regions with the most are the Northern and the Volta regions. Now, let's go to the regions that have 2 each. Talking about distribution, we'll go to the Western region. Now, Western Region was interesting because if you look at the outcome of the election, MPP won only 2 constituencies for parliamentary. Indeed, presidential, the only constituency that MPP won was Takoradi. There are 2 nominees from that region. You have Ama Kofi-Boa, who's former minister for petroleum from Atuabo, and now, indeed, he started as a deputy minister before he became the substantive energy minister, and then he now has been nominated for lands. He was also the minority leader in the 8th parliament. He's the actual deputy minority leader, and now he is okay, you can say he's the outgoing deputy majority leader because he will obviously be replaced. Now, Emilia Arthur was also vetted today for the fisheries portfolio. I'll tell you a lot more about her later on. Very interesting trajectory in terms of a rise in politics. She has many firsts, which is what I would say. So she's going to fisheries and aquaculture. So the Western region has the fisheries and the lands portfolio. We'll talk more about these 2 people shortly. The other region with 2 is Bono East. Okay, now Bono East has 2 nominees. We have Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, who was vetted today. Elizabeth is a former minister for tourism, a lawyer by training, and now the nominee for trade, industry, and agribusiness. She had a very cordial vetting. In fact, a lot of the MPP people were claiming her because apparently her spouse is from the Koforidua area, so it was very nice vetting. She's the MP for Techima North. Now, so far, all the people have shown you, the 3 from Volta, the 3 from the North, and then these 2 I'm going to show you are all members of Parliament. So it's quite clear that the President is looking into Parliament. He is not a sectoral minister. I call him a functional minister. He's Minister for Special Initiatives, so Minister of State. There are 3 of them with that role for functional. Felix Kwachio Fosu, who's going to be in charge of government communications, and then another minister who's going to be in charge of climate change. So Imanokojo Ejekum is a member of Parliament for Nkranza South. So we have 2 nominees from the Bono East region, Techima North and Nkranza South. And so this is Imanokojo Ejekum going to head this ministry as a minister of state. Now, which other region has 2? Central region. Indeed, the first person to have been confirmed would be Kasiel Atuforsen, MP for Ejumako Enyan, and he was the ranking member for the finance committee. He became the minority leader. He is now going to be the Minister of Finance. Indeed, what is left is sworn in. In fact, he probably sworn in today, if he's not been sworn in already. But Parliament has confirmed he's been sworn in. So Parliament has confirmed his position. So he's the first minister of Mahama's government. Named first, vetted first, approved first, sworn in first. He's been through the mill. Rather young. I'll tell a bit about him because he's actually in the group I call the late 70s group. So he's in the mid 40s. Ejumako Enyan Esiam. The other person from the Central Region as well. So by the way, he has a longer experience in Parliament. He's new in Parliament, but not new in politics. And he's the one who's been talking since transition, right? So MP for, we call it Abura Asebu Kwamankesi, they call it AAK. He's the one who's been communicating through the transition, and even now, announcing lists which even include his name. Thought that was quite interesting. So that's Felix Kwachio Fosu. So maybe let's go to the other region with 2. So AAK, and then of course Ejumako. Which other region has 2 nominees? It looks like Greater Accra has 2 nominees as well. Samonate George, quite an interesting pick. His rise to politics has been quite rapid after defeating E.T. Mensah from Ningo. He's going to head the Communications and Innovation and Digital Technology Ministry. He was a ranking member for that committee as well. So we can see that almost all these guys are members of Parliament, leaders of what you call caucuses or ranking members. So that's Samonate George, who was part of the last batch announced. So he will be vetted probably next week. There's also now Momolate, who was vetted earlier today. She's the MP for Crow. So by the way, Samuel George is MP for Ningo Pram Pram. She is a PhD holder, former secretary of NALAG. So her interests are more local government. She did a PhD in African Studies for some things that relate to decentralization. Like, she was vetted, quite a thorough vetting. Apenyawa spent a lot of time on her. She's going to be the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Watching the vetting, she seems like she's up for the job. Greater Accra has 2 ministers so far nominated. The other regions with 2 are the Eastern. Now, Eastern is light blue because the NPP won the region, although NDC sort of, presidential-wise, the gap was only 40,000. So this is not parliamentary, this is presidential. We're just showing you if there's a relationship between the performance of the party and whatever they go. But this is one of the closest associates of the president. Defense ministry is usually the ministry you give to the person you trust the most. It was held by Dr. Dokufuor for J. Kufuor. Mills had a soldier, one of the generals, as his defense minister. Mahama had Makoyongo. He also at some point had Benkumbo. So the defense portfolio is a very highly priced portfolio. So he is going to be defending. Now, the Eastern region and the Ashanti region are and the Northeast region are the only regions where people who are not MPs have been made minister. So for the Eastern region, the 2 are both not MPs. But he was Director of Elections and IT for the NDC in the election. And he's been Minister for Communication before, held environment portfolio as well, a medical doctor by training. And then Georgia Pariado, popular with the young people, but he's actually not that young. In fact, they are the same age, which is quite funny. But he's the youth leader of the NDC from the Eastern region, Accra. So he is also, so 2 from Eastern region, all right? A new ministry is headed, Youth Development and Empowerment. The other region with 2 ministers, and we're looking at the regional breakdown, is the Ashanti region, almighty Ashanti region, 47 constituencies. Now look at NDC's performance in the region. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Almost 8 constituencies won by Mahama. Almost unprecedented in their history. This gentleman used to be a deputy minister for defense. He's going to occupy the portfolio of housing, works, and water resources. He's called Ajay Kenneth Gilbert. A lot of people may not know him in media. He doesn't talk that much, but he was Deputy Defense Minister under the Benkumbo Makoyongo era. This is Mahama Part 1 from the Ashanti region. The other nominee from the region is the indefatigable Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka. Muntaka, we know him, MP for Aswasi, went into parliament via by-election, and the rest they say is history. Very strong guy. He was the chief whip with Haruna Idrisu being the minority leader. Very, very interesting guy. I'll tell a bit more about him later. So the 2 from Ashanti, Muntaka and Gilbert Ejay. Now, so we've done North with 3, Volta with 3, Western and Central with 2 each, Ashanti and Eastern with 2 each. Everywhere else, Bono East also with 2 each. Everywhere else, there's just 1 nominee. Greater Accra also with 2 each, right? So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, and then another 2. The rest are all 1 each. So quickly, Upper East region, the only nominee for now, out of the 26 substantive, we have no other regional ministers, Dominic Ayine, and he is the MP for Bolga East, a lawyer, a very respected academic as well. Then Upper West is Rashid Pelpo. There you have him. He's been minister before. He was sports, private sector development. He's now back as employment minister, MP for Wa Central. So that's Abdul Rashid Pelpo. So 1 for Upper East, 1 for Upper West. And by the way, look at the way the NDC swept the region. These are NDC strongholds, right? Cleared the whole region. And same for Upper East as well. Now, the president's home region is Savannah, and the only nominee from his home region so far is John Jinapo, whose brother was Minister for Lands under Akufo-Addo. We had some agitations in Bole, where the president is from, about wanting the MP for the president's hometown to be made a minister. But for now, John Jinapo, he was one of the first 3, they call them the 3 wise men. Ato Forson, John Jinapo, and Dominic Ayine were the first 3 to be vetted. Minister for Energy, and the only nominee from the Savannah region. I'll just wrap up quickly with the other regions with just one. So if you go to OT region, Kofi Adams, former spokesperson for Rawlings, former Deputy General Secretary, National Organizer, now nominee for sports. He's been decoupled from youth. Kofi Adams is MP for Boem. He's the nominee from the OT region. The other region with just one is Bono. He is the MP for Banda. Ahmed Ibrahim, local government, vetted yesterday, 4-term member of parliament. And local government is a big portfolio. If added chieftaincy to it, a lot of people say he's close to the party's chairman. Then you have Western North, where the MP for Joaboso is now going to be the health minister, Kwabena Minta Akando. And then you also then have the other region is Ahafo, where Erikopo is going to Agric. So in a nutshell, what the president has done is basically divided the 26 portfolios. Actually, I haven't done Northeast quickly. Northeast. He ran for NDC in Nalerigu. He lost. So he's a non-MP. He aspired. He's the president of Isifu Seidu, Minister of State for Climate and Sustainability. So to summarize what we know, 26 ministers, 3 for North and Volta, 1 each for Upper East, Upper West, OT, Western North and Northeast, and Savannah. The rest have 2 each. So that's how he divided them. When I come back, I'll dive deep into some of the new names that came up today. And then we'll also talk about the CEOs, because the CEOs are quite an interesting bunch. These are people who are going to run very important organizations like Ghana Gas, MPA, BOST, Cocoa Board. Who are these people? Are they party people? Are they technocrats? And why are their appointments important? We'll tell you some of these things when we come back. Stay with us.
Here's Kwame and Yao. After hours of planning, both have locked in the same perfect multi-bet. Big win for United, over 1.5. And both teams to score in the London Derby. But who could have picked Leicester over City? Or